This will be a day long remembered. Now I am the master.
Welcome to another episode of Legends and Theories. In the MCU, there's a claim made by many people, including Ken Feige, I believe, that says that the character of Shuri is smarter than Tony Stark, but I do not agree with this. For one main reason, I feel like Tony Stark has done stuff better in certain situations than Shuri did. There are two parts I want to compare between them. One, where they're working under great stress, and two, what their probably best invention was shown in the movies by this point. Looking at the moments of great stress they were under, I want to compare Tony Stark's hostage situation in the cave where he had to build the arc reactor in the first Iron Man suit, compared to Shuri doing the surgery on Vision to try to remove the Mind Stone from his head. Not even considering the fact that Shuri failed and Tony was able to succeed. Let's just say that she was able to succeed. I would still say that Iron Man did a more impressive feat there. The main reason behind that for me is because, like Obadiah Stane said, that Tony Stark built this in a cave with a box of scrap, while Shuri was able to do it in a high-tech laboratory with as much resources as she could possibly use. Also, to Shuri, the threat was not as real as it was to Tony. For Shuri, she just had to hope that the armies of Wakanda would be able to hold off the armies of Thanos long enough for her to remove the stone. She also had one of the most powerful people in the world standing right next to her to defend her. And to be fully honest, if I was to put on a scale of 1 to 10 how much of her life was in danger, it would probably be around a 3 or 4, maybe a 5 at the highest, but I don't think it would pass into 6 or 10. But Tony, he was in very extreme danger. On the scale of 1 to 10, it would be around a 9 or 10. Since both, he had to hope the arc reactor would last long enough and not fail on him, because if it did, it would almost mean certain death. He also had to hope that the people who took him hostage did not figure out what he was doing, because if they did, they would kill him instantly. And that goes double for the arc reactor, because right now we're just talking about the Iron Man suit. He had to hope that the battery was going to work that was put into him as he built the arc reactor. And like I said earlier, he had to hope the arc reactor would fully work and be able to power him up and make him survive. The fact is compounded on the idea that he had to do this all in secret and make his captors think that he was working on the Jericho missile for them. Because if they even thought for a second that he wasn't going to be building the weapon for them, they would just kill him. And if he did build a missile for them, they would have killed him after. Just because he was working under stress, that doesn't mean everything. I think that looking at their best achievements will again show why Tony Stark is better. And I'm going to compare the Tony Stark nano armor that was seen in Infinity War and Endgame to the nanotech vibranium armor that Shuri made for Black Panther during the first Black Panther movie and he used through the rest of his time in the MCU. Looking at the two different suits, it really depends on which one you think is the better one. But I would say that the more impressive one is Tony Stark's armor, comparing the different situations and history put into it. We know that the first Black Panther suit was designed in ancient Africa and likely worn by the first Black Panther. If not, it would be some of his recent descendants at that point that had created the first armor. And that was an armor that was developed over thousands of years. Shuri was able to use that thousands of years of history to be able to improve the newest version of the suit and make it to a nanotech armor. In comparison, Tony Stark took a decade to build an armor that he built from scraps and started from scratch completely into a nanotech suit, which is why I think he is smarter, because he was able to do it with no previous blueprints that were all created by himself and didn't have thousands of years of history to look at and use to develop his suit. He was only able to use basic laws of science and other technology information that he knew, which Shuri almost certainly also knew. So I think it was more impressive for Tony to do that than it was for Shuri to build the Black Panther armor. One final point I want to bring up is how Tony Stark is the only human that was able to invent time travel at this point in the MCU. And since Shuri's actress said that she did survive the snap, we'll just go on that. And if Shuri was smarter than Tony Stark, she would have been able to, one, to create time travel and not Tony. And I do know there's an argument that you could say that Leopold Fitz and Joe Simmons were able to invent it. And just assuming that Agent S.H.I.E.L.D. is still part of the MCU, which I feel like it is to a certain point, they were only able to really hijack the signal of time travel from another species that was able to create it, which is the Chronicoms. They were really only able to do two things. They were able to go off the Chronicoms' time travel trails, and they were also able to bring them back to a fixed point, but they could not time travel to any time they wanted to, like Tony and the rest of the Avengers were able to in Endgame. I still want to mention that Tony Stark and Shuri are both brilliant characters, and definitely are some of the smartest people on Earth. I just feel like Tony Stark is a little smarter than Shuri with the acts we've seen him do. Plus, I'm really proud of the fact that he's able to build an Infinity Gauntlet, which, according to Thor, only the dwarves of Nidavellir, or whatever it's called, would be able to do. Although I'm sure he used the original Infinity Gauntlet as inspiration, and he's been able many workings to be able to make it work. Thank you for watching this episode of Legends and Theories, and may the Force be with you.